of the spring version of our Self-Care Sunday, where we are springing into sensory awareness. Today's topic is feet. So many of you may not have spent too much time really getting to know your feet, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. Is how to give our feet a little bit of love, because they do so much for us, literally supporting our weight as we walk through the world and navigate life. So our feet, a lot going on in just the foot itself. There are about 26 bones and 33 different joints, which means that the foot is, or should be, very mobile, and it's designed to actually change its shape relative to the environment, so that, humans developed barefoot. We didn't develop with shoes on. That's not how we started. And so we would walk, over roots and rocks and this uneven ground, and our feet are designed in order to change their shape to be able to receive that ground and then attenuate that force up the rest of the chain. So a lot of our knee, hip, back, even neck problems and pain can actually stem from a foot problem. So feet, super important. You want to really take care of your base. And a lot of us have really rigid feet, because, as I said, we weren't designed to be in shoes all day. So when we're wearing these shoes, especially more thick supportive shoes, it actually kind of makes us lose the mobility of our foot, because the foot, the muscles, the little tiny muscles in it, they don't need to activate as much if you've got a big pad that's supporting your arch and all of this cushioning between your foot and the actual ground. Then your foot doesn't need to change its shape. It's kind of held rigid in one shape. And the amazing thing about fascia is that it will change its shape and kind of maintain whatever you tend to put it into. So if your foot is always in a shoe and you're really not walking around barefoot or walking on uneven surfaces, your foot will kind of take on the shape of your shoe and will become kind of rigid and stuck. And then you might have pain if you try to walk barefoot, especially on uneven ground, because it doesn't know how to navigate that, and it's stiffened. So we're going to talk today about how to kind of loosen up your feet a little bit. So go ahead and start by taking your socks, your shoes off, and get your feet barefoot, and start by just checking out your feet. How much time do you take where you're really looking at your feet and seeing what's going on? So notice where you may have calluses. So oftentimes you'll find calluses maybe over the big toe or about the little toe or the heel. And these are usually points where we make more contact or put more pressure. The callus will build up to support that pressure. So just getting a check and looking at both feet and noticing, do you have calluses in different areas on your two different feet? That might indicate that they're not quite hitting in the same way when you're walking, and that indicates some imbalance. So go ahead and just check your feet out there. And then let's start getting into mobilizing the foot a little bit. So go ahead and start by just kind of grabbing at the base of your toes and see if you can kind of gently move your foot back and forth. So you're kind of grabbing the extension of your big toe, the extension of your second toe, your metatarsals, and can you kind of move them on each other? There should be a little bit of movement there. And then go to the next one, grab that second metatarsal and the third, and can you kind of move them back and forth a little bit? And if you don't feel a lot of movement, that's okay. This might be just getting your baseline of, oh, okay, there's some things to work on here. And kind of keep going through and see if you can kind of wiggle between each of those metatarsals, which is the extension out of your toes. Then go ahead and come on up to your toes. Maybe start at your big toe, grab your big toe and kind of pull on it and make some little circles. So you're giving it a little bit of traction. And now, important thing here, none of this should hurt. And if it does hurt, that's okay. It's just letting you know there's a problem going on there. But if your foot's like, I really don't like this, don't do this, we call that the red zone. If it says no, respect that. Don't pull so much on your toes. But see if you can give it a little bit of traction, a little bit of wiggle, and then go to your second toe. Same thing, pull that toe and just kind of wiggle it around a little bit. So we're just kind of creating a little bit of space here. And just kind of keep going through each of the toes, loosening them up a little bit. Good, then go ahead and grab your toes. Maybe grab big toe, second toe. kind of pull them apart from each other and maybe go back and forth, again with a little bit of that traction where you're pulling on them slightly. So we're just trying to move our feet around kind of in new ways. Okay, rehydrate some of that fascia, that connective tissue, wake the feet up a little bit, and just keep going in between each toe, giving that nice mobility there. Good, now when you're done with that, maybe straighten out the foot, and then can you wiggle your toes a little bit and see if you can splay your toes out, like you would splay your hand. So can you get your pinky toe to go out to the side and your big toe as well? Maybe you notice you don't get a lot of movement from the pinky. And then try bending all the toes, so curling your toes, and then extending them or bringing them up. Just go back and forth a few times like that. And maybe you add the ankle into it. So can you curl the toes and point the ankle down? And then bring the toes up, bring the ankle up. Curl the toes, bring the ankle down, bring the toes up, bring the ankle up. So just creating some mobility and working on that range of motion through your foot and your ankle here. And maybe doing a little bit of circles too. You might get some cracks. Maybe you can hear that on mine. And then just kind of shake that foot and ankle out a little bit. And then you go ahead and do the same on the other foot. So go ahead and grab in between those metatarsals, so that kind of extension of the toes into the foot, and see if you can move those a little bit around on each other. Going through each, and you might notice one foot is really stiff and the other foot might be really mobile. And again, it's just giving you information, so just kind of take note of what you feel here. There you go, and then go ahead through the toes, so start by grabbing that big toe, maybe making little circles and creating a little bit of traction there. Then moving on to your second toe, that third toe, fourth, and then your pinky toe. And super important here, make sure you're breathing while you're doing this. If you notice you're kind of pulling on your toes, but you're holding your breath, that's a compensation. You always want to make sure that you can breathe with whatever it is that you're doing. Then go ahead, we're going to grab the two toes next to each other, pull them apart a little bit and kind of wiggle them back and forth. And then the next two toes. Next. And then those last two toes. Good, and then on this foot, same thing. Now, can you spread those toes out? And now you might notice where there's some asymmetries. Maybe one foot you can kind of spread the toes a little more, the other one the toes might not have as much mobility. Especially if you've had any injuries to one foot or ankle, that could affect that mobility. Then go ahead and bend the toes, bring them up, bend them, bring them up. And then add the ankle into it. So you're curling your toes, pointing your ankle, pulling your toes up, pulling the ankle up. Just repeating that back and forth. And then maybe making some circles with your ankle. Just waking it all up. And then shake that foot out a little bit. Then maybe take a minute to just notice how your feet feel. Maybe stand and kind of feel your feet contacting the floor. And maybe they feel a little bit different on the floor, maybe a little flatter, or maybe you feel like your arch has lifted a little bit, maybe you feel a little more grounded, maybe you don't feel anything, and whatever you feel, that's just fine. Just trying to take that time to be aware and notice what might be going on is a great practice to start. So that would be my intro to getting to know your feet. It's a great thing, especially at the end of the day, after you've been on your feet a lot, or if they've just been in shoes for most of the day, even if you were sitting a lot, just mobilize those feet, get them moving a little bit. Because again, problems in the feet can translate up the kinetic chain to problems throughout the rest of the body. So you need a solid foundation in order to build upon that. And if you're interested in learning more about these kind of self-massage techniques, our wonderful massage therapist Christine is doing a self-massage class. Her class for self-massage 1 is actually happening today, and if you have taken this class or when she offered it a couple months ago, then you can take self-massage 2, which she's doing on April 28th. It's a Sunday from 10 to noon here at Three Pillars Clinic. So feel free to reach out to any of us if you have questions or you're interested in attending that. And otherwise, enjoy getting to know your feet and springing into your sensory awareness.